Welcome to Creator Weekly for February 15th, 2026. I'm Peggy K, and this week there's updates for YouTube, Twitch, Discord, TikTok, AdSense, and a bunch more. So thank you for joining me. Let's get started. So in this week's first update from YouTube, this is a nice little quality of life update where YouTube will now automatically turn on the captions if you mute your phone or tablet. So you mute your device, the captions come on automatically, and then when you unmute your device, the captions turn off. And you can always change this manually. So this is just to make it easier so you don't have to keep fiddling with the settings. And then I wanted to mention a small experiment that YouTube is running. This is a test to help improve notifications. These are push notifications like on your mobile device. So in this test, viewers who haven't recently engaged with the channel, despite getting the notifications, won't receive any additional push notifications. And this will not affect notifications inside YouTube. This will not affect the subscription feed. And the thought behind this is that a lot of people go to channels and say, yes, give me notifications for everything. And they do that for so many channels, it's too many notifications. And what happens is instead of going to those channels and turning off notifications for those channels, instead they just turn off YouTube notifications completely. And you can see this in your YouTube analytics in Creator Studio. You can look and actually see how many of your subscribers have turned on notifications, and then what percentage of those people actually have notifications turned on their devices. And it's just a small fraction. So this is what they're working towards. The idea is that if you're getting notifications for a channel that you're never actually watching the videos or engaging with that channel, you probably aren't interested. Again, this is a test. If this seems to be affecting you, you can always send feedback to YouTube. And then a small update that some of you may have noticed is that YouTube has simplified and cleaned up the sharing options on desktop. Now, what happens is you click that little curvy arrow to share, and you can get the embed code, you can email, you can just get the link. But there used to be a lot more options that they've removed and replaced. They removed Blogger. So it used to be you could select Blogger and it would actually automatically go and create a draft blog post with the embedded video. They removed Tumblr, Kakao, which I think is a Korean site, VK and OK, which are Russian, and Mix. I presume it's because people weren't using those very much. Now you can go and see WhatsApp, Facebook, X, Reddit, Pinterest, LinkedIn. So if you share that way, this will affect you. It's kind of a weird thing because I never share directly to apps that way. I always just get the link or just get the embed code. This doesn't affect me at all. If you are using Blogger and you want to make a Blogger post, you can always do it from inside the Blogger post editor and say you want to insert a video and choose YouTube as the source of the video. Easy peasy. And YouTube is making these changes all the time. A lot of times nobody notices. So it's probably a good decision. Now, another change that is kind of nice, if you have YouTube Premium or YouTube Music Premium, you can now use this new AI playlist feature. And the idea is that you use a prompt to get a personalized playlist. It can be with a certain idea, a certain mood, a certain genre of music. It's not a playlist of AI-generated music. It's an AI-generated playlist of other music on the platform. So if you have one of those subscriptions, check it out. And shifting a little bit over, if you live stream and you also are monetizing your YouTube channel, there are new features on StreamYard. You can adjust your monetization settings from inside StreamYard. Just last month, there were the same update basically on Restream. I think this is an update to one of YouTube's APIs. So you probably see this on lots of third-party sites. So the idea is that if you're monetizing, you can choose whether to monetize a particular live stream in your settings right there inside the platform you're streaming from. So the big story this week, at least what people are talking about, is that Discord announced that they will be giving users teen by default experience on the platform unless they can determine you're 18 plus. And the idea behind this is that it's got to comply with all these new laws that are coming up, UK, Australia, several US states, that put the burden on platforms to ensure that younger teens are not accessing adult content. I don't know how much adult content there is on Discord. I think there's some. It says that they will be using these sort of age assurance algorithms. And so if Discord thinks that you're over 18 based on criteria they're not sharing the details of, then you won't have to do anything. They said most adults won't have to do anything. If it can't tell that you're an adult, thinks that you're a teenager, you'll have to go through age verification to change your communication settings and access certain sensitive content or speak on stage on some servers. It is really getting some people upset. I guess I spend a lot of time on Reddit. Maybe that gives me a skewed view. But Discord is saying this is privacy forward. They had to add a fact to the announcement. They said that facial scans, there's some sort of algorithm that looks at the video and says, this person looks older than 18. It says facial scans don't leave your device. And if you show your ID, it's immediately deleted after they get your age. And Discord says they only receive your age and not your identity. The issue with that is that, of course, they're using third-party platforms, especially for the ID scanning and so forth. All the big platforms are doing this. Even Google is doing that. And one of those platforms is called Persona. One of Persona's investors is Peter Thiel. If you follow US politics, he is the founder of Palantir, which is sort of a surveillance company, and he's deep in the whole conservative politics, Anyway, people are concerned that this is just part of the surveillance state. I think the tricky thing for platforms, though, is that they're actually required to do this. So they are sort of in a bind. And Google is doing this. YouTube is doing this. I'm pretty sure Facebook and Instagram are doing this. And they're required by law to make sure that teens don't see certain content. And the only way to do that is to ensure that everyone who says they're 18 is actually 18. So that's what's happening on Discord. Those of you watching may or may not be prompted to show your ID. It would be interesting to see. I assume that my actual use of Discord looks boring enough that I'm probably going to be considered an adult. And it's not great, right? All these platforms, identity verification, do you really want to have to verify your identity 10 different times? I know there's talks, it's like, well, maybe Apple and Google should have device-specific age verification, but then what if a parent lets their child use, I don't know how it works. This is the world we're in. I'm going to shift over to Twitch. There are a few Twitch updates this week. Monetizing Twitch streamers that were grandfathered in to a very favorable 70-30 revenue split have been moved to the Twitch Plus program at level 2. So Twitch's monetization program has 2 levels. Level 1 and level 2 has this 70-30 revenue split. And it's caused some consternation because in this level program, to be level 2, you have to have a certain minimum number of subscribers and maintain that. Some people are kind of freaked out about this, but Twitch clarified that if you were part of this legacy program, you don't actually have to meet the subscriber minimum. Yeah, kind of weird. I don't know why they did this, maybe just to simplify things. So that's what they're doing. And let's see, it's good to see you guys in the chat. Thank you for joining me today. And I just, Andrew says, that's a great update. I think that's referring to the captions coming on automatically. You'll have to clarify, Andrew, if that's not the case. And Craig says he would like the playlist feature. Kind of interesting to see how well it does. Is it better to make playlists that way than to have it just based on what songs you listen to? Maybe, especially if you want to mix things up a little. Craig asks, are adults boring? Yeah, some adults are boring. I'm boring. I think I'm pretty boring. And obviously, the kind of content they don't want teens to see is not boring, but that's, I'm sure teens would say adults are boring though, so there's that. The other thing is that Twitch is testing pause ads. The idea is that if you're watching a stream and you pause, ads appear. These can appear on the bottom or side of the live stream. And you can see the image here. That's the screenshot that Twitch shared. And it doesn't look that obtrusive in terms of ads. Twitch says they will be monitoring feedback and may evolve the experience over time as they explore more ways to generate revenue for our creators with less intrusive formats. They also have an experiment going with skippable ads that's more similar to what YouTube has. Interesting, and I think there is this kind of tension, right? You know, if the ads aren't slightly intrusive, people probably don't notice that there are ads there. Good for viewers, not that great for advertisers, so there's a balance. So shifting over to TikTok. So US TikTok is now working, and they launched a local feed tab. This features local travel, events, restaurants, local creators. They say that it does not include content from under 18 accounts. It does not include content from private accounts. But to access this in the TikTok app, you have to give permission for it to access your precise location. Now, this is opt-in, which is good. You just go into your device settings and you can say that TikTok has permission to access your precise location. You probably see a prompt if you try to access the local tab in the app. And again, this is in the US only. This is a separate US TikTok that's doing that. Do you want to give them access to your location? That's up to you. Is it worth it for this feed? I don't know. I think it's going to depend very heavily on where you're located. Some of those feeds are going to be more interesting. If you're in New York City, there's probably a lot of content. If you are someplace more rural, there may not be a lot to see. So I'm shifting over to social media now and talking about Threads. Threads is Meta's X, Twitter-like platform. And they're just rolled out something they call Dear Algo. It's like Dear Algorithm. This is available in the US, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK right now. And I'm pretty sure it's just in English. The idea is that you type Dear Algo and then you say what you want more or less of. And they do some sort of analysis of it's a prompt, of the prompt. Some of them are rejected based on what you're asking for, but if it's approved, then your feed is updated for 3 days based on this request, and you can actually see in your feed, there'll be a label that says, this post is from your Dear Algo request. After 3 days, you may see a shift in your For You feed algorithm because you engaged or didn't engage with those posts. So it's a way to tweak the algorithm, kind of push it a little bit. I think it's an interesting experiment. I've tried it. And if you're on Threads, you don't even need to make your own prompt if you see someone else's prompt, because the prompts are all public posts. If you see someone else's prompt, you can then just reshare that, and it should apply to your account as well. So YouTube is also experimenting with a similar kind of idea on the home page. People who are in the experiment can use some kind of prompt to tweak that. And again, I think it feeds the algorithm. So that seems to be a trend where these social sites are at least giving people the opportunity to adjust their feeds. Is it a good, one of the things that I've heard people talk about is that people often say they want something, but then when they actually test it, people don't want that, they want something else. So this kind of at least gives people some illusion of control. Also, over on the Meta side of things, the Edits video editing app has some updates. They added Valentine's Day fonts and presets and sound effects if you want to make something romantic. They also now let you speed up a clip to 100x. That's very fast. That's a creative decision, but you could probably think of some fun things you could do that. They also added Korean fonts. Also over on Meta, on Facebook, they have a new option where you can use Meta AI to animate your profile image. Now, of course, this doesn't look like much since this is a static slide here, but the idea is that there's, I think, some preset prompts. You have your profile image, and this will let you be dancing or whatever. You can also restyle images that you share to stories. So you have a photo of people and you can make it look like a cartoon, that kind of thing. And then I think a kind of interesting thing where you can turn text posts into images with gently animated backgrounds. There's a kind of, when you're composing your post, there's sort of a rainbow A button. You click that and you can choose a background. It's really kind of a weird example that they picked for the announcement, though, Why would you post "Spring is on the way" with some generic animated background? That seems like the most boring thing that you could post. It kind of, I don't know. Is that what's happening on Facebook? I don't really spend much time on Facebook except to see sort of family photos and that kind of thing. But if you're on Facebook and you make text posts, you can now put a background. Hopefully you post something more interesting than "Spring is here." Over on Bluesky, there's a big update. You can now save drafts of your posts in progress. And then when you're in the post editor, you can access your drafts to finish. It's a very nice thing. If you have something on your mind, maybe you don't want to post it right away, you can just save it as a draft. And Beehiiv, that's what I use for my newsletter. Again, you can subscribe to the newsletter. There's a link in the video description. It's a free newsletter. You get all the links and updates every Saturday in your inbox for free. You should check that out. If you're using Beehiiv, they have a new media library. So that lets you organize your image assets. They let you do some basic editing like resizing and cropping and adjusting the colors. And there's also some AI added where you can generate an image. It's not clear what model they use. They say they are testing the latest models to deliver the best possible output for your content. I don't know. If you have a Max or enterprise plan, you can also get Getty images and use credits that you have for doing that. So Beehiiv also added native website analytics. This is becoming more a platform for your own blog or website associated with your newsletter. So now I'm going to talk about something a little bit more technical. This is an update to AdSense for content. So if you're monetizing your own website with AdSense ads and you have vignette ads enabled, that's a type of auto ad, there are new triggers for the vignette ads, which you can opt out of. So that you are opted in to these triggers automatically. Now these ads, I find them kind of intrusive. I don't use them, but this is how vignette ads work. Usually when you're on a site and you switch to a different page, you navigate to the site, you click a link, then one of these vignette ads pops up on desktop or on mobile, sort of in your face, and then you need to dismiss it. So this update is that there are additional triggers that will make these ads pop up. So for example, if someone is reading an article on your site and they get to the very bottom of the article, and then they kind of pause, or if they start scrolling up, that can trigger one of these ads. Or if someone has your site open for at least 30 seconds or so, as if they're reading, and then they interact with it. So like they start scrolling, that can trigger these vignette ads to pop up. You know, AdSense is about making more money. They are intrusive. And you can change this setting in your auto ads settings for your site. To opt your site out, you have to sign into your AdSense account, click the ads option on the left menu, choose the icon to edit ads for your site. And then you go into the overlay formats, advanced settings, and you have to uncheck the box, allow additional triggers for vignette ads, and then apply that to your site. This setting is available now, but the new triggers won't start working until March 9th. So you have some time to change the settings if you don't want them to appear. And you can also change the frequency of the vignette ads. That setting won't be affected by these new triggers. It's kind of all taken into account. So You should definitely check out your AdSense settings if you're using auto ads and you have vignette ads enabled. And then the last update I wanted to talk about is a new set of data inside Bing Webmaster tools. This now includes AI performance insights to show you how your content is doing in Microsoft Copilot, AI-generated summaries in Bing, and what they call select partner integrations. I'm not entirely sure what that includes. So this is something that may be worth checking out if you have your own website or blog and you have Bing Webmaster tools set up. You can go and see this graph now and see if your website is appearing via Microsoft Copilot or in the AI Bing summaries. I think one thing that's really frustrating, though, is that there isn't any one-stop shop where you can see how your site is performing in these various AI tools in one place. So you can see some traffic to your site. You can see that in your Google Analytics. For example, it'll show you, oh, you're getting traffic from ChatGPT. That doesn't tell you how often your site is appearing there, though. That's if somebody clicks that. Or, in Google Search Console, there's data on how your site appears in search, but there's no way to know how your site is appearing across various AI tools. And more importantly, when it does appear in these AI tools, how often those links are being clicked. So those are the updates for this week. Thank you for joining me today. I see skating. Yes, it's Winter Olympics now. And Nina says that she's enjoying that. Let me see. But one of the things that I think Nina says she's from Cortina, where the Winter Olympics is. It's great. That's a lot more fun than where I am at home. Very boring. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for joining me this week. And I'll leave you with a thought. I have been watching the Winter Olympics, and Google is one of the sponsors, and it keeps showing these AI mode things. Oh, you look up how a particular athlete is doing or how a particular sport works. And whenever they show these, there's never any indication that there is a link to a website or what the source of this information is. And I think that is the real problem. Someone could be a real expert on winter sports. They write blog posts, they write articles. Google and these other platforms scoop up all that information and feed it to people, never sending traffic back to the original site, which pretty much sucks. So that was my thought watching the Winter Olympics advertising. Anyway, not to end on a sour note, I hope you're all having a great weekend and have a great week, and I will see you all next Sunday.